Hey, Twisted People, it's your girl here, Chauncey K. Robinson, and I am actually joined by my partner in many ways, Michael Damian. He's joining me for the season finale, American Horror Story, because we've actually been watching this together, this one. And he's got thoughts about the season finale, and we're both UFOologists. Sort of, not really. We both like the UFO things or whatever. So we've been,
the pandemic was fun.
Yeah, when it comes to all of this. So, but thank you all for joining us for this. Josh been rolling with us for most of the day with all three of I did a couple of live streams today, y'all. It's been a very busy live stream day. Halloween Kills. If you haven't checked that out, check out the replay of Halloween Kills live stream that Michael and I did. I also did Titan season finale. If you haven't checked that out, check that out. And now we're doing American Horror Story. So thanks for joining, Josh. It's always a pleasure. And so we're talking about this, y'all. This thing, AHS, and I wanted to show this picture mainly just to show how we were bamboozled.
Yeah, false advertising.
Such false advertisement, I feel like, and we're gonna talk about it. So overall, I want to talk about the grade of this season finale, and then let's talk about the grade for this whole season for one. So both of those, and also let's talk about what actually happened this episode. It's funny because when it comes to this show, particularly Death Valley, I never really have a lot of notes because it's kind of like only one major thing tends to happen. It's kind of an overall thing of happenings, and so there's only but so much you can write with that. Promethean Flame joining us in the chat. Hello, hey. Promethean. Fred is saying it was bad. I tried so hard to like it, but it was honestly terrible. I know. And didn't we all kind of say that this might be the potential of what would happen? We said this. We were like, this might be disappointing, but I was hoping that it wasn't, that we were gonna do better, y'all. Jorge, thanks for joining. Jorge saying missed your Halloween chat, but good points. Dissatisfied with the finale. Yes, and y'all can watch the Halloween Kills chat on the replay if you want to check that out as well. Solomon joining us in chat saying this season was a slap in the face to my optimism. We were hoodwinked, deceived, and bamboozled. Well, we were, weren't we? Ooh. We really were. Okay, y'all. So let us know in the chat first and foremost. What grade would you give the season finale? Although I already know what I'm going to say. What grade would you give the season finale? And what grade would you give the overall? Because this was a new kind of season, right? This was a season of a double feature where instead of being a whole season of one long plot, it was two stories. So let's give a grade about that. But Michael, I'll start with you. If you had to give this a grade, if you had to give the season finale a grade, what would it be? And if you had to give us the whole season a grade, what would it be? Oh. Also, let me know, y'all. Did you like Red Tide better, or did you like Death Valley better? Because we got to compare it, right?
I love the concept of both of them so much that the execution of it was a touch disappointing. I think I would give, because I love the idea of like the talent pill and then every Eisenhower UFO conspiracy theory thrown into like a couple of episodes. I would have loved to see them grow, but I think overall season B-.
Okay.
And I think the season finale, I give it a B.
Okay, a B. All right, for this
Oh,
one.
yeah. I don't know, because
I mean, no, I don't let me influence you. You gave it a B. That's fine. It's totally fine.
I it's just nothing. Everything that I thought Ryan Murphy was going to do, he did,
Okay,
and
it
he
was
did it in
predictable.
such his own way. Yeah, it was very predictable.
And isn't, to me, that's a little bit of an issue that it
Yeah,
was so predictable. Jorge is saying too much time jumping around and new ideas. Didn't need to see Nixon make it,
exactly.
right? Although I kind of got why they did that, right? Okay, for me, I'm gonna give this season finale a C minus D plus.
Oh, we're
Mainly
being
because
that hard.
I
Okay.
because I actually really did enjoy um the things they showed. I just
Yeah.
knew that they only had but so much time left that I was wondering, where is this heading? And that's what I was saying as we were watching this. I was like, where is this going? I'm disappointed in the season, and I'm going to say the season's a C for me as well. So it's basically both are C's. The season was a disappointment for me because I see my error of my ways now. I was really hoping that this was going to connect. I really had hope that Red Tide and Death Valley were going to connect. I was bamboozled. It did not end up connecting. And I think that was a missed opportunity to not have it connect. I had so many ideas of how they could have connected this,
Mm-hmm.
and they didn't execute
It
any of them.
it was
None
all
of it
right
was
there.
connected. Yeah. And my question then was, is this even the same universe? I mean, there's an understanding, I feel like, with a lot of the AHS that they all kind of share the same universe, right? Because we saw with Apocalypse, everything kind of came together. So I thought in some ways that this was going to be shared, but I don't see how it could be, you know? I feel like we were, I'm going to show the picture again because I feel like we were bamboozled to think we were going to we had them
Yeah.
making out, we had
How
aliens and vampires making out, we had so much stuff going on, and never the two shall meet.
like in LA, you couldn't go on the freeway for a minute without seeing an alien make out with a vampire.
Right?
Like,
And it really made it seem like there was going to be some big culmination, cool kind of thing.
mm.
And it seems like the only way they were connected is that they were part of the same season. And I think I feel like that was a little bit of a bait
It
and
was
switch.
basically in the same thing, like, okay, we watched an episode of Charmed, now do we wanna watch X-Files? And there
Yeah.
was, like, no through line at all, and, I had so much hope for this one, and, I might have to lower mine around to a C plus overall
Oh,
to,
now you're learning. Okay.
'cause I
Um,
didn't know, like, I don't wanna be Paula Abdul from 2000's American Idol, like, "This was wonderful. They executed a concept." I don't wanna do that.
yeah, just give them pats on the back for the
I'll
sake
give
of
him
the
a C
fact.
plus because this was average. It could have gone on so much more. Everything, like, you have Valiant Thor and you have all really cool conspiracies or scientific American folklore that could have happened or not, and you executed that. You just touched it, and then
Yeah.
you had, like, this pregnant couple that it really didn't need to happen. Like,
Yeah.
it could have happened so great between the Eisenhower and the, Kennedy administrations, even into the Nixon. Like, you could have focused on that, and it would have been very good.
Yeah. Promethean Flame is saying, yes, they should have connected the stories. Solomon is saying, honestly, 2021 has just been an overall bad year for AHS. I mean, if we're going by American Horror Stories, the spin-off series, as y'all saw that I was doing the live streams for that, yeah, I just don't know where the creative juices were. Fred P is saying finale gets a C minus. I'd give Red Tide a B minus and Death
Yeah.
Valley a C minus. Exactly. And that's comes to what we're saying. So, okay. So I'm kind of both ways for this in regards. Like, I loved the world building of of Death Valley. I love that they played in, like I was saying before, I think that this did a good job of playing on anybody who loves UFO stuff or whatever. You really got that kind of vibe
Yeah.
from it, which was really cool. But I also said, I was like, if anyone who's not into that sort of thing, are they really enjoying this part of the season? Because I mean, this is just a whole bunch of a conspiracy theorist kind of wet dream here that we're getting. Now, with Red Tide, I love that it had that old school Stephen King horror vibe to it.
Oh, that was great.
Both of these things had really good buildups, which is what we're kind of used to in American Horror Story, where there's good buildup and then they kind of fumble the end. Now, the thing is, I do think Death Valley's end was better written than Red Tide's end. I thought Red Tide's end was rushed, ridiculous, and almost should have died. Now, with Death Valley,
that's the little girl.
Yes. Yeah. With Death Valley, I thought it was anticlimactic. That's what it was for me. It was more like all of this, and that's it. That's where we're ending this. I felt like we needed a whole season and maybe some hero to come about, even if they don't win. There was no real conflict, because that's what a story needs. A story needs conflict. You can't just have things happening. You have to have a conflict going on. Even Red Tide had something of a conflict, even though they ended up killing off everyone we would have rooted for. There was conflict up to a certain point. To me, I didn't feel like Death Valley had conflict, except for Eisenhower, the president himself. In a way, he was the conflict, but he was kind of just commentating on things towards the end. So you didn't really have a driving force of a character to root for with this. And I think that really just made it so, there was cool intertwining of plot, but there was no real purpose.
The purpose and the conflict ended right when Eisenhower said, I never should have signed that. Like, I died when I signed the treaty. Mm. And that's where, like, after that moment, where he signs the treaty, it's just, okay, here's what's going to happen next. And it wasn't like, this happened, I did this, therefore this happened and that happened. It wasn't like a march towards a climax like you were talking about. It was very anticlimactic, and it already ended when he signed the paper. So it was more like, we're going to be along for this ride. Yes. This is the cause, and then this is the effect.
It was basically a retelling in the history of all the conspiracy theories. Mm-hmm. There was no changing. There was nothing to fight against. This is like, okay, this is what's happening. And that's what we got. We got a story, sure, but we didn't get a conflict in the story of one that could actually, keep you on your toes as to what was happening. And that seems, silly to me. Promethean Flame is saying, Death Valley made me feel nostalgic for Octavia Butler. I need to read more of her books. Yeah, definitely, for some of the plot lines she had done in terms of science fiction and things like that, for sure. Solomon is saying Death Valley finale felt more like a penultimate episode. I even watched the credits expecting an end credit scene. Exactly. It was like, okay, there's supposed to be some. Yeah, it was kind of like, okay, that's it. That's the end. That humans, no one's gonna rise up or anything like that. We're not gonna even get an inkling of that. I just, Jorge saying Neil McDonough was wasted the last few episodes. Definitely. I just think it was just very anticlimactic, y'all. I like that I felt like Sarah Paulson got more of a play in this one. I felt like she got more play than TB Karen got in Red Tide, unfortunately. But she was also kind of the bad person in this one, kind of turned good towards the end, but more in a last minute effort to kind of save herself because she felt bad about what her legacy was going to be. So that's what we got with Mamie. I agree, Jorge. It was too nihilistic almost, and I don't mind a little nihilism, but when there's no hope, I mean, even our 4 people that we all wasn't feeling in the beginning, from Princeton and Harvard and all of them. I mean, wow, talk about just there to die. Like, all 4 of them were just introduced to be killed. Mm-hmm. I stopped understanding why they started just slicing their necks. It was like, okay, thanks, bye. And I was like, how are we supposed to support these aliens? Like, I mean, not that you would support the aliens, but they just made them so unlikable.
Yeah.
And, I'll say it again, Ryan Murphy, even with the aliens, he has a tendency to make it so the character that you really don't want to root for, he makes them your main character. And it's like, you're really going to make me pay attention to the people I really would rather not win, like Alma in Red Tide, and now the aliens in Death Valley. And it's like, why? You
Man,
know?
I want to follow up to Red Tide where Alma gives all of the rest of the girls in her drama college trauma for life.
Mm.
Like that she is going to be the reason people drop out of art school and like really make that a traumatic time for their life. Like that, whew, that is like evil's already here. And then we just allow that to grow.
Yeah.
That ooh, that was I really loved Red Tide. I love the
Mm.
concept of it. I love the execution of it. I love the final scene where it makes its way to Los Angeles and it's just like hacks chewing on each other. Like, wow. I guess you have to live like right down the road where that was filmed to really love that. But
Mm. No,
I
it had a more real world,
it
realistic
really
kind of thing.
felt
And there
great.
was more of a conflict going on, right? We
Hmm.
had a character to kind of try to follow. With this one, it was just basically a retelling of history. And
Yeah.
even though we had our boy Eisenhower, who I'm
Hmm.
picturing right here, he was kind of our hero, our kind of tragic hero, but
Yeah.
not really a hero because he kind of went along with it. But he was probably the only one that has sense
Hmm.
when it
Yeah.
came to everything, and JFK, who he also was okay with getting killed. So there was no good person really in this. And then our four students, they just kind of died and became breeding chambers, which really kind of just makes you uncomfortable that they just put a thing on her head and just make her so she's pushing out stuff. And it's like, wow, really? You know?
They couldn't cauterize the wound on her neck and just put a sheet over it. Like that was
They had to put the thing over, probably so someone could sit there.
yeah, I guess. Yeah.
Jorge is saying aliens were hypocrites and a lot of hubris. Even Mamie Eisenhower was selfish in her pursuit to save humanity. Agreed. What Solomon saying. This season emphasized why connected universe seems sometimes bother me. Tell me a complete story rather than set up to be explained later. Exactly. It's like, if you're going to tell a full story, tell a full story and give us the conflict, give us
Yeah.
the payoff if you're going to start all of this. And that's what I was weirded out by with this particular one, because I felt like they did a lot of setup. We were told a lot of cool things about conspiracy theories. And then that was it. Humanity's about to die. Okay. So I've been pointing this out in the last couple of streams, and I'll let this know for Michael too. Some of the conspiracy theories that we saw in some of the episodes. This one also had conspiracy theories, right? The Vietnam War and the whole thing of Nixon's resignation and Watergate. Well, that wasn't so much a conspiracy theory because it's always been accepted that Watergate was, him being Nixon and a jerk, how history would remember him. What the show did with this one is that they twisted it to make it seem like it was an alien plot to disgrace him so that he couldn't come out. And basically they probed his butt. That's what it seemed like they were doing. I guess that was the joke. And made it so he didn't come out with the aliens. And so that's how they kept Nixon quiet. What did you
Yeah.
think of that? What did you think of that kind of twisting of history to kind of play into? I did kind of like the idea of distraction, because I do think
Yeah.
that was part of a conspiracy theory, right? That there is that conspiracy theory that things that happen in the government, even like these culture wars that we have going on now, that's just certain politicians and things, ways of distracting us
From the real issues.
Yeah, and so that was something that the aliens played on. What did you think?
Like leading up to that and like up until the last episode, I was all on board with the use of aliens being a distraction or using, American history events to distract the public from what was going on. I actually really enjoyed that. I was all on board. It made me want to come back week after week. It's like, oh, what are they tackling now? Oh, the resignation. Oh, the or the Kennedy assassination.
Yeah.
Marilyn Monroe.
Yeah.
Like everything. Like I've heard about that stuff going into this. So I loved how that was all being played out.
But what did you think about the kind of commentary that wars and stuff are just kind of a way to distract us from real stuff like alien invasion? Because that was what this one in particular was playing on. And that is what you hear conspiracy theorists say, right? Like, this is just to distract you from all the kids they got down in the pizza parlor, or, you know, things like that, you know? And so that plays into a little bit of that conspiracy theory.
Yeah, although there, to be fair to UFOs, like, I don't know if you remember in June, like, the news was releasing footage that they said they had no idea what these objects were up in the sky.
Yeah.
And that was explained, and Pizzagate is a made-up far-right conspiracy. But I get how, you know, all conspiracies do derive from a half-truth, and then they go crazy with them.
Yeah.
So,
but this particular one was the idea that wars and stuff are a way to distract us from aliens.
It made sense.
Yeah.
When you we've been watching a lot of documentaries on UFOs and stuff, and one of them that I thought was cool, which made this whole thing plausible, was when mankind developed the atomic bomb. And, you know, you got to think, if aliens are up there in outer space and they see like mushroom clouds just decimating like land on Earth, they're going to be like, what is happening? Or, wow, they've discovered this power. Like, when we need to check them out, we need to say, hey, look, here's what you're doing with this. Here's why this needs to stop, or moving forward, this is our plan to help you not blow yourself up. And I liked all of that.
Yeah.
It seemed plausible, whether it happened or not. It was a really believable fiction to a degree.
And speaking of another conspiracy theory, Fred actually touches upon this. Is a great segue. Fred says, what was with the lizard people? It came out of nowhere and served no purpose. It had the same energy as the cop in the finale of Red Tide. What's so funny about this is I honestly think the point of it, Fred, was that it was another conspiracy theory, right? That Henry was a reptilian. Now, this is another conspiracy theory, right? This is when you get into the weeds of of some of people who believe in UFOs and stuff. There's the conspiracy that some people are reptilian people, right? So that's not the aliens that Eisenhower was dealing with. That was another alien race, because there is the conspiracy that there's multiple types of aliens, right? And that there are reptilians and grays, as some people call them, who are also part of the kid thing or whatever like that, who are posing as people, and they're reptiles, and they eat people, and they particularly like, you know, kids and crap stuff like that. So that actually, I thought that I actually liked when that popped up, only because it played into another conspiracy theory of reptilian people among us, which is a conspiracy theory that some people have. I mean, now let's be real. Now, we've been talking about this since since Death Valley started. Some of those conspiracy theories can hit close to home, like JFK assassination, stuff like that. And some of them are completely off the wall. I feel like American Horror Story for this one just kind of blended it all together, giving all of them some kind of credence. So I did kind of like the reptilian thing a little bit, because I was like, okay. Yeah. And then you kind of had a full circle moment, because while we, the Americans, were making deals with those aliens were making deals with the reptilian to get rid of us. So you also had that going on. But I do agree, Fred, that it did kind of come somewhere. And the only reason why it came about was the idea of, to me, to throw in the conspiracy of reptilian people, which is a conspiracy theory that people say, and then to kind of show that we as Americans were played. Pretty much.
Yeah. And
go ahead.
Sorry, I was also going to say I really like the historical relevance of it too, because, you know, at the time you have the Cold War, and when they were constantly testing like nonstop nuclear bombs, it was basically the East and the West, like Russia and the US. So Eisenhower in this show was put in a very delicate situation, and he did what he thought was good for the country, because these guys could go somewhere else.
That's why I said, like, Eisenhower was something of the tragic hero. He thought he did what he thought he could do at the time. Solomon saying, I agree with Fred. The fact that both stories introduced concepts in the finale made no sense. Promethean with another conspiracy thing is saying, speaking of the Kennedy assassination, Biden continued the postponing the release of those files. So you mean the Kennedy assassination files or the alien files that Trump said that? Because I think those did get released. The Trump one, the alien file. So
yeah, I remember hearing something about that.
Yeah, Jorge is saying that's how they're hypocrites, the aliens, starting wars and using it as an excuse to eradicate humans. Exactly, right? Like that was the thing too that they were saying, like, you humans, you harm the earth and da da da. But it's like, wait a minute, y'all were manipulating things to make us do certain things. So you kind of put us in this position, you know?
Yeah.
It didn't make sense. They were hypocrites. This is the thing. The aliens weren't benevolent. I mean, I know tears were shed when Mamie got her head blown up, but the fact that they were going on this thing like, well, like Calico and the other half alien person was all like, well, this is what humans do, and maybe it's someone else's turn. And it's like, really, someone else's turn? Look at the way these people are behaving. Look how cold they are and how killing they are. And the other question is, what happened to their planet? Like, did their planet just naturally die, or did they do something to their planet? And now they're coming up talking about we're the ones messing up our own. What did you do to yours? Why did it mess up? Why are you here? Why are the reptilians here? What did y'all do to y'all dying planet? And this is why it doesn't work. I mean, because sometimes, it's not the first time that we've seen plot lines where it's the question of whether humans are really the bad guys, and sometimes those can be so smart, and I can appreciate them. I felt like it fell short with this one because it was kind of like, well, isn't that the pot calling the kettle black, right? Like, I can see if you guys were benevolent humans or something, but you're not. I mean, benevolent aliens, but you're not.
Did they at one point? Correct me if I'm wrong. That's what I'm asking. I don't know. Did they at one point talk about the conspiracy theory that aliens created us to harvest gold for their ships?
No, that wasn't a thing. Okay. It was just we were created and these aliens came and wanted to get on our planet.
Okay, cool. Because I was trying to figure out like how deep they're going in with blending these alien conspiracies together. And because it was funny in retrospect. They didn't put a lot to it other than there's multiple races of aliens, but then maybe the whole reptilian thing. Yeah, no, I'll just shut up because I'll read Fred P's comment. The writing was so sloppy, I can't get over that Jamie being allergic to semen served no purpose.
Right? Yeah. It's the same thing as the whole Lyme disease thing from Red Tide, where you had Doris keep talking about Lyme disease. You think that's going to come in as some kind of reasoning for the black pill. It never does. Same thing. We had all these theories, y'all, about Jamie being allergic to semen because that whole story she told. I'm like, oh, that's gonna, maybe she was sleeping with an alien or something. Nothing came over. It was just a shock value dialogue scene.
No.
What was the point? Why?
Yeah. Like, right, for the reptilians. And, they never dove into that whole thing about how aliens, because of dinosaurs, there was a race of lizard people that evolved from them. And I think that's where lizard people ultimately come from, that conspiracy. Like, maybe dinosaurs didn't fully die off. Maybe they blended together with humanoids. I don't know. But that doesn't seem like it's scientifically possible. I think that's what I was looking for. Yeah.
Solomon is saying... there's a character, Theta as a character confuses me. How was she able to grow up and become the head doctor, eliminating defects when she was clearly a defect as well? Right?
Exactly.
It made no sense. So she was the one they let grow up because she could be used somehow. Like, it seemed like she was the only one was there. And then this is the thing too, because you have Valiant Thor who's been walking around, and then you had the other people serving the food and telling them to eat. Were those versions like Valiant Thor, where like Valiant is kind of like a machine, but being used as the alien's avatar? Were the other humans there? Like the woman that was helping deliver the babies with Theta, right? Was that a human person, or was that an alien who was being controlled? Was that a human that was being controlled by an alien, or was that a Valiant Thor character, which was a machine or whatever. They didn't really explain any of that. I kind of felt like this was like an overdrawn Twilight Zone episode. You know how Twilight Zone episodes go, where it's like a whole bunch of stuff and then it's a gotcha moment. Although I think Twilight Zone episode, the old school ones, did it way better because they did have conflict. I felt like this was a longer version of a Twilight Zone episode.
Rod Serling's Twilight is like far superior than what we are talking about now.
Yeah, and it
like,
was, I felt like that was kind of the vibe of it, though.
Mm-hmm.
You know?
Yeah, it kind of was like a little Twilight Zone-y. Like a lot of people, like I didn't see Rod at all. I did love the one thing that was cool from sorry about going political, but we are talking about the government here. But I loved how Eisenhower's wife, Mamie, Mamie Eisenhower, she is responsible for
Deep Throat.
Deep Throat. That was a fun thing. And also the fact that she was responsible for Halloween being popularized.
Well, that was true.
And that was true. And I love that. And looking at how like people like Marjorie Taylor Greene would call that holiday the devil. And I just love the shift of Republicans from the 50s to the modern 20s. And I thought that was fun. I was like, man, nobody would. They would call her, like Q would be all over her.
I mean, I also thought it was just interesting because, I mean, yeah, the whole thing of her being Deep Throat, another conspiracy, who was Deep Throat and all this other stuff, another remixing of history and everything. But just the idea that Mamie kind of emerged as the main character for the second half, I thought that was pretty good, although she wasn't likable at all. It was kind of funny because, you know, she didn't want to die like her husband did. She wanted to live forever because somehow, this is the thing too, the aliens, although they can't seem to, they have to hybrid with humans in order to be on this earth. They somehow have the ability to keep people from dying. And it's like, wait a minute, you got the power to keep someone alive forever, but you guys needed like 60 years to try to have a hybrid kid?
Like, why do you need to do that?
Seemed a little, I mean, honestly, it seemed just kind of convenient writing for American Horror Story to keep characters around for multiple. They did that with, you know, the house and everything. That's how you keep characters around even after death. You either make it so they don't die, or when they do die, they don't go anywhere, right? That's their mechanism for how they tell stories in this universe, in the American Horror Story universe. But I just thought it also kind of presented its own plot hole. And, you know, I can be forgiving with plot holes, but you got to give me a better season finale than you did, because when you don't, it gives us time to think about all the things that didn't make sense after we think about it, right? Promethean Flames talking about Theta and saying, perhaps due to her closeness to the desired form, she could better identify what they were looking for. Yeah, maybe that's why Theta was kept around. I think it was most also for credit in terms of like, you know, they just like to keep that kind of character around. She was kind of weird looking. Let her stay around for shock value, right?
You know
Jorge is saying, don't give too much credit, you're making sense.
You
exactly.
are. You are actually. I love the little tiny details about her. How like they had like the gray eye, but then you had the human eyelash like attached to the eye, and then like every baby came out just different and just in a different variation that they couldn't handle, until one day you got like a normal looking humanoid head with like baby eyes.
Yeah. And that seemed to be what they were going for. To them, that was the perfect hybrid. And it was like, okay. Solomon is saying the 60-year wait for the perfect human alien hybrid was hilarious, especially since the perfect host was played by a fashion model. LOL. Yeah, it just seemed, I mean, everything was so convenient, right? The fact, and it that was the only way that it connected within, because it was like, oh, it's going to take 60 years. So that's how we know why we were following these 4 people, because one of them is the one that's going to give the perfect baby, or for them to consider the perfect baby, because it has to take 60 years. But it just, their technology seemed lopsided. You can make humans live forever, but you can't get the hybrid right. That's going to take a minute to really perfect for some reason. And
you have immortality.
So on and so forth. Yeah, it was like, what's that, you know?
Also,
go ahead.
Go to a different planet.
But I guess the whole idea is that we got the corner market.
I guess we do.
actual things, you know.
Yeah.
So there's that. You know, so okay, so that was one of the it was that. I'm trying to think if there were any other conspiracy theories that kind of came out. I feel like those were kind of the main ones. Also, Theta was just kind of like they killed the A team of the security, and it was just like, oh, they've been promoted, and then she killed them. I'm like, why are they just killing them? Why did you kill them? They got who they needed to get for you. It just started seeming like they were just not caring about anybody, and I'm like, I don't see. This is what I mean when you have a story. You got to give us someone to root for. And they didn't give us anyone to root for, not even Mamie to a degree. And in the end, Calico ended up becoming the last person standing. Once again, this actress ended up being the last person standing as she was in Red Tide. Her and Angelica Ross's character, in a way, Theta, as though like just like when she was the chemist, she got to be the last person standing once again with a baby.
Do you think those two characters are the through line that make this a double feature because of the actresses instead of their characters?
But if that was the case, we can claim that every season American Story is a through line because all the characters.
Yeah,
only way I thought it was going to be the way I thought it was going to be a through line was that Theta was somehow the chemist. And that somehow she ended up being able to morph, like maybe she got plastic surgery or something like that. And she was able to morph her body to be who she was. And she left trying to, you know, spread the chemistry of humans and things like that, bringing humans up to be just as good as aliens, something. But they didn't even go that route, you know. And let's see, Rachel DC is saying, and then why do they need a perfect hybrid if they're getting rid of humans? Well, now they've got a breeding machine, right? Their whole thing was basically all they needed us for was breeding. That's what they're really trying to claim. They just needed us for breeding. Once they found the perfect specimen for breeding, they just needed to find that one and they could get rid of the rest of us because all they want is our planet. They don't actually need us here.
Won't she eventually die?
Well, that's the thing, though.
Yeah.
They can prolong life. So they can just keep her around for the next 100 or so years until, because how long will they need her, right? If enough of them procreate, if she procreates enough of them, they start procreating, then you have the new aliens. You won't need breeders.
You have all inbreeding aliens. So that's...
Because they all came from the same woman.
Yeah. But then again,
I have no idea.
Then again, that comes to like the whole Adam and Eve, and then Cain, Abel, and Seth, and it's
like, if you believe we all came from Adam and Eve, then aren't we all related?
Yeah, aren't we all inbred? But like, that's a hot take. But yeah, like it was weird. There was, I think we talked about in Halloween. There's a lot of suspend your disbelief in this show.
It's a lot of avoiding the plot holes.
Yeah,
it's a lot of avoiding, ignoring things that really are kind of glaring and wouldn't make as much sense for the plot line. And you can only do that but so long, though, right? Before it's like, okay, now, you know, this is an issue.
Maybe this was the double feature was, okay, we have two stories that are, you know, they got concepts, but we don't have to fully complete them if we put them together in a niche. And it's like,
I think you just basically discovered it. I think what it is that they didn't have one story that they came up with that could prolong for 10 to 13 episodes. So they decided to do two shorter ones.
It's
and do that because they didn't have something that they probably, I mean, I didn't get it. Maybe in the midst of everything that's been going on in our world, they just didn't come up with something that they really could dive into for a whole season. Fred, go ahead, Michael.
Sorry. Also, I love how Eisenhower kind of looked like Ryan Murphy.
Yeah, I guess. Well, that's the actor, but yeah.
Yeah, I like that. I was like, I see where, but I mean, he kind of did. Yeah.
Fred is saying Mamie became so gullible at the end, which was out of character in my opinion. So contrived. I'd be more forgiving if it resulted in a climatic ending, but it didn't. Exactly that too. All of a sudden, Mamie's like, oh, we've got someone on the inside. And it's like, Mamie, you've been cold and calculating for decades now, and you really think this alien didn't know the inside plan all this time that they were going to start killing humans?
Yep.
You really believe that to the point where you were just gonna do this? Come on, seriously? Fred also goes further in saying, Valiant Thor said that the human race would be eliminated apart from those deemed worthy. So I low-key expected the pill to be introduced as it would be a way to show them who's capable of innovating. Exactly.
Yeah, good job.
That was,
Fred.
I'm telling you, we had some great ideas, y'all. We all had some awesome ideas of the way this could have gone.
We got a writer's room right here.
Right? And they didn't use any of it, y'all.
No.
No through line.
Yeah.
You know, no through line. And that to me is a shame because there were so many opportunities to connect it. And that idea, Fred, is probably one of the best ones. The idea of the pill being introduced to kind of thin out the herd, right? You keep the people who are really highly capable and can keep the world going, and you get rid of the other ones.
Yeah.
But the pill never came back into play, y'all. The pill never came back into play. It was just there. Solomon is saying the fact that Mamie tried to take down an entire alien organization along with Calico was odd as well. As others said, Mamie was smarter than that. She really was. And then suddenly it was like, I mean, why not be like, okay, well, that's cool. You know, I'd rather live out my last days amongst the people. Why don't you let her go? And then Mamie tries to like say, hey, I've been alive this whole time. And this is how. Something like that. And then you leave it open-ended of what do humans do with this news? And then you just leave us to wonder what happened. At least have someone get the message out that this happened. You know what I mean?
It'd be great if a first late, like if something, I hope this never happens. She's amazing. But like if like Michelle Obama just like disappears and then she comes back
50 years later looking exactly the same, I'd be like, you know what I mean? Maybe that could have been the way. Instead of trying to kill the baby, Mamie should have like had some heist to get out of there and get in front of a camera and be like, hey, there's something going on. You know, I made my way out because I wanted, you know, like something, and then make that the twist. Something where it's like we're given a little bit of, even if you don't show it, we're given a little bit of a show of potentially humans finding out and leaving it open-ended as to how we fought back. And Solomon makes the joke, which is very funny. Honestly, this season was written by the Pell people. Yeah, this was written by the hacks, right? Who took the pill and they weren't.
Oh, I thought you were talking about me for a minute.
No, not you, Michael. You are Pell, but not.
I was like, hey.
Not the Pell people.
Oh, yeah. The Nosferatu guys were like.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, but overall, y'all, I was disappointed. And I don't know. I mean, the bar is so low. I probably could just do a full season that has a beginning, middle, and a climactic end, and I'd say it was way better than this.
That's my favorite comment, my favorite review. I'm sorry I didn't read the name, but written by the Pale people.
Yes.
Makes perfect sense. I think you nailed it. I
think this is very much, that should have been it. Oh my gosh, it should have been a freeze frame. It goes out, and who's writing this story? It's the Pell person, and it's like American Horror Story season 10. That would have been such a meta moment. That would have been such a meta moment, and would have been very brave of Ryan Murphy and them to do. But you know, they think very highly of themselves, so they probably wouldn't think that they're the Pell people.
Great. And then Macaulay Culkin just like throws it in the garbage.
Right? He's like, oh, that was crap.
This was crap. Because he had talent in the show. And his character did as well.
Like one of them, or even not the Pell person, even someone who took the pill probably wrote like, oh no, I gotta take my pill. That was crap. And then it ends. And it's like, great. Even though we all sat through something really crappy, at least we got the joke at the end.
Yeah,
you know?
It would have been great if they would have been able to like make fun of themselves. They need stand-up comedians on that show.
Yeah, I mean, they have humor. I mean, there was humor. It just, at the end of it all, even the Nixon stuff was kind of funny. But at the end of it all, it didn't culminate into anything. And you almost feel like you gave them all your time and we didn't get anything for it except a retelling of history in a way. I mean, that's what I took from it. I got to see a lot of conspiracy theories that I've heard before get remixed into one big thing. That was kind of cool, but it didn't really go anywhere. And I really, really was hoping this all was going to connect. But yeah, our hero, Eisenhower,
great president.
And he deserved better a little bit, I guess.
Yeah, great president in real life.
At least he knew he was crap. He realized that. He's like, I don't deserve to live longer. This is what I deserve. And, you know, I mean, honestly, he was the better person for it. So,
in my mind, the last great Republican president. But yeah.
Yeah. So that's what we got, y'all. I don't really know what else we can say about this, except hopefully they do better next season.
Yeah, are we talking about favorite characters, or is that not even a
Yeah, talk
thing?
about your favorite character
I love Macaulay Culkin's character in Red Tide.
in the whole season.
In the
Okay.
whole season,
What
he
about
was
Death Valley?
Death Valley, probably Nixon's jaw, because he looked like American Horror Story. Like, we want Nixon, but we want his jaw to look like a young Arnold Schwarzenegger, but exaggerated. And
Yeah.
I was just looking at it, like, mine like is narrow, but his is just like, okay,
Yeah, a little
like,
bit of an
oh,
over exaggerated
it was.
Nixon.
I
Yeah.
loved it, but in Red Tide, Death
Death
Valley,
Valley.
just from the UFO nut in me, Valiant Thor. But
Valiant Thor.
Valiant Thor, yeah, if I
Yeah.
didn't like him, it would be Eisenhower. But Valiant Thor, just because, yes, we're finally getting a Valiant Thor tale, and then, no, what are you doing with it?
I thought he was actually he was conveyed pretty
was
good.
cool. He was awesome.
Although he kind of went in the background towards the end. I thought he would at least have a little bit more umph to him towards the end, but he kind of just did what he was supposed to do.
Yeah. He was a messenger, and I liked that.
Yeah. Josh is saying, let's hope for a better season next year. Let us know, y'all, in the chat and the replay. Like, who are your favorite characters this season? I know a lot of us, when it came to Red Tide, TB Karen was a lot of our faves. She was one of my faves too, TB Karen, for the most part. For Death Valley, honestly, I don't know if I had a favorite character. I guess Eisenhower was my favorite character because he was the only one I could root for. Although in terms of the character I enjoyed seeing most on screen because they just chewed the scenery was probably Nixon.
Yeah.
He was a lot to take in, and I loved it. Yeah, I loved it. I loved it. So he was probably my fave, only because of the way it kind of played out and what he was doing. He was a lot of fun. Fred is saying Bella Noor was probably my favorite from Red Tide. No one was explored beyond the surface, so not a single character is top tier of American Horror Story. Yeah, not in general for sure.
Yeah,
but in terms of like what we had to pick from the season, yeah, Nixon was probably my fave in terms of watching. And then Red Tide, yeah, TB Karen, I wanted more for her, overall. What would you say is the best episode of this season, Michael?
Overall, I guess I just really liked that's rough. I liked when Macaulay Culkin was doing well for himself. Like
what episode?
What episode was that?
Okay, what episode of Death Valley out of the 4 episodes we got did you think was the best one?
Second to last.
Mm-hmm.
Like right when
yeah,
the penultimate. I was like, oh, this is really cool. Like Valiant Thor. Like I remember when that episode ended and I saw the preview for the finale. I'm like, this has really good promise and potential.
Yeah.
And I love it. This is fine. This is like turning out to be one of my favorite science fiction things. And then no, it wasn't.
Yeah, I feel like the third of Death Valley was definitely a little zanier, especially when Mamie started emerging a bit and her whole thing with Valiant Thor. I was like, okay, this is very American Horror Story. For me, it was the second episode of Death Valley. That's probably my favorite because I felt like it was way more cohesive to me, and they focused a lot more on the black and white, which was to me probably the favorite one. That I thought it was shaping up to be something.
Was that the one where they were talking about the predicament that Eisenhower was in?
Yeah.
That was
and Mamie, he finds out that Mamie was actually possessed and everything. Yeah.
Yes, that is my favorite.
Yeah. Fred P is saying best episode of Red Tide was the second. Death Valley best was the second, second. Yeah, pretty much. I mean, their second ones, I mean, it's those ending ones that get real weird. In this particular one with Death Valley, it was like the last 30 minutes because we only have 4 episodes. So I don't know. I think this is showing, along with American Horror Stories, y'all, that they need a whole season to make a fully cohesive story. Like American Horror Stories showed us that they don't do very well with one episode trying to tell a story. And then this one showed us that they can't do truncated seasons. They have to do seasons that are fully fledged because they need all the time. This is not their team is not a type that can do shorter stuff and still have the same punch to it. I think we saw that it just is not working, y'all.
I didn't like it
yeah.
anywhere nearly as much as I loved American Horror Story 1984.
Oh yeah, American Story and the Horror Story 1984 is still my favorite season.
Yeah,
out of the ones I've seen. Solomon saying, I think that Doris and Harry were the best characters across both seasons. Death Valley's best character was probably the perfect hybrid baby. Basically that's who we all were waiting for.
You're not wrong
for that one. Which is a shame, right? Worst character. Who do you think was the worst character of the season?
Oh, the worst character would have to be the little girl who had evil way before the pill. Sense,
but was she worse like badly written, or was she worse more so because we were made to hate her?
Oh yeah, love to hate her. Yeah, no, she was bad in that. But the worst, probably that's true. Oh, the worst character, was there one? People are angrily typing. Yes, there was. Find out the name. The worst character, the one that I didn't exactly like.
Or do you wonder how they were written, and it was a bit for me. I feel like,
I'd love
and
to
this
know
might be a little controversial. It's kind of Ursula for me, the agent.
Yeah,
her name was Ursula in this one, right? It was the agent. I liked Calico. I liked her as Calico.
I loved her as
Calico. She was a little bit more level-headed in terms of everything she had been through. But it was just like it kind of felt like, here's this agent. She doesn't have any powers or anything like that, and she comes in and she's kind of like a Machiavellian with around all these people, like Bella Noor and all of them. She's able to outwit all of them, and I'm just like, really? Yeah.
There's always
like, what
one
talent does she have? And I felt like Ursula was, to me, the most contrived character of this season, where it was just like she was there to just kind of move the plot along and do things that other characters couldn't do for plot reasons. So to me, she was the worst character of the season. Not like the worst character I've ever seen of American Horror Story, but definitely one of the worst for this season.
Yeah, I think it was one of the guys who got pregnant by the alien.
You think one of them was one of the worst?
Yeah. I was like, really? I guess because I was so enthralled with like the alternate history they're throwing at us, or like the conspiracy history, and then it's like, oh my god, I'm freaking out. And then again, maybe I love this guy, and then it's like, you deserve it. Like, dude, come on, where are you right now?
Y'all decided to try to advocate yourself,
and I get it, they were needed because they were like, they were all hot in American Horror Story, and with their good looks, they could give like a good looking alien baby. But it was just like, I'm kind of done with two of y'all. Like, I'm like, there doesn't need to be
there's too much of this. Is annoying with them. Fred is saying worst character was Ursula, to be honest. I couldn't stand her. I actually enjoyed watching Alma. I think we're in agreement about Ursula for sure.
It'll probably be Ursula.
Yeah, and Solomon is saying the worst character is a four-way tie between the college kids. They actually made me appreciate Alma. Right? Yeah.
It's just like, oh my god, we're all unexpectedly pregnant. Like, it's a terrible
let's go to the gynecologists.
Yeah, it's a horrible after school special.
Yeah.
But the little girl.
Alma wasn't a badly written character.
No, she wasn't badly.
Her, which probably means she was greatly written because of how much I could not stand that character.
Yeah, exactly.
I just had my annoyance with Alma was more so because she didn't get her just desserts, and I would have preferred that they given that to her in terms of her getting what was coming to her in terms of the way she was behaving, and that didn't happen, and that was annoying. But in terms of the writing, it was sticking out like sore thumb. For me, it was Ursula. The college kids were definitely annoying for sure.
Yeah,
and maybe they were made that way so we wouldn't care that that's what happened to them, because it was pretty messed up what happened to the four of them, and maybe they were made annoying so we wouldn't care as much and wouldn't be as uncomfortable of what ended up happening to the girl. She ends up, her body becomes a breeder. Like, I mean, damn, so
I would have loved to have seen Alma do that. Like, if this was a double feature with a tie-in, that one of the college kids was Alma.
Yeah, that she grows up and
she grows up and she's not allowed to do her talent that thing that she's amazing at, and she becomes one of the vessels for the alien. Like,
Yeah.
I would have loved that.
Would have been a nice full circle.
Yeah, been a great full circle. Although the catch is she's been doing the pills, which has been taking away her blood, and she would have been killed because she doesn't have enough supplement and nourishment to breed the alien baby, and she would have been killed. Like, that's what I wish would have happened.
Yeah. Something to just basically tie this all together, y'all. But we didn't get it.
This is basically now American fan fiction, what we're talking about.
But that's basically send in your fan fiction theories, y'all, or how would you rewrite this season? Because oh my gosh, right?
If you got Final Draft at home, open it right now and write it better.
Right.
Yeah.
But yeah, y'all, thanks so much for joining. It's always a pleasure. Thank you, Michael, for joining me for this season finale.
Thank you for having me. It was fun watching it.
Yeah, for sure. If you all have watched Halloween Kills or are going to watch Halloween Kills, check out the replay of the Halloween Kills stream deep dive spoiler discussion that Michael and I had earlier today. Also, if you watch Titans, check that out. Give this video a slash the like button. I said slash because horror. Slash the like button. Subscribe if you haven't already. And also, if you all are on Twitch and you like watching horror games or supernatural games or superhero themed games, check me out on there because I am now on Twitch. I just started it. So I just opened it up this yesterday. So I am new to all of this, y'all. But if you are on there and want to kind of chill with me occasionally to watch some video, to watch me play some games and stuff, it is always appreciated. Michael will also be on there too, as he plays Diablo and Resident Evil and stuff like that. And I'll be playing some
maybe the Grand Theft Auto remaster.
Yeah, because he won't just be doing the genre stuff like me, but he'll be doing like the Grand Theft Auto things and stuff as well. But yeah, y'all, it's been real. Go to the community tab. Let me know what else you might want me to live stream in terms of TV shows. I will be trying to do Chucky coming up. Hopefully
another good show.
Week. Doing episodes 1 through 3 and then hopefully a weekly one for the rest of the season because I think it's 6 episodes in total. So check me out for that. But yeah, until then, y'all, thank you so much. Be safe out there and be blessed and have a great rest of your week. And don't get abducted by any aliens.
No.
Okay, no alien babies.
Yep.
Okay. Talk to y'all later.
Bye. Thanks for having me. That was fun.
Yeah.
Thank you
very much.
Thanks
for coming in for that last one. I mean, we have been watching it together, and so